Hello everyone and welcome back to another player breakdown video. This one's a kind of an obvious one when you're looking at the relegated teams, and obviously that is Luton Town's Alfie Doughty, 24 years old, had a very good debut season in the Premier League last year with Luton. Unfortunately for them, it wasn't enough to stay up, but he's definitely someone that caught the eye of a lot of people in the Premier League watching from the outside, especially with his delivery from crosses, etc. So we're going to get into the breakdown of him as a player, whether I personally believe we should be moving for someone like Alfie Doughty, especially with the likelihood that Ben Johnson's going to be moving on. And we are definitely in need of a left back this summer. So, yeah, it's been reported on Sky that Alfie Doughty is attracting interest from several Premier League clubs following Luton's confirmed relegation now upon the end of the season. And it only makes sense that we will be one of those teams. I know it's come out, before that Alfie Doughty is a player that's been on our list of players that we've been looking at. As I mentioned, 24 years old, played for Luton, predominantly played as a left wing back rather than a natural left back because of the way Luton played in a back three. He was often so when it was a 3-4-3, he was along the four. So a lot more attacking, a lot more advanced than how we were used to playing last season under Moyes. And again, the Lopetegui brand, we want to be on the front foot a little bit more. We want to be controlling games. We want to be getting into these areas where we're putting in dangerous crosses from wide positions. So in that sense, Doughty does fit that mold. But in terms of just overall, in terms of his contract expiry, there's not really much out there. The article for Luton, when it was announced, didn't actually disclose it. There's been conflicting. Some say it expires this year. Some say it expires in 2027. So again, there's not really too much to go off. All we know is he signed the contract in 2022. So he's likely to be 2 years into that contract, probably max another 2 to 3 years left on that deal, if we're looking at a 5-year period as well. So that kind of gives you the breakdown. And he's also 6 foot and left footed as a left wing back / left back. So that's kind of the overview. Before we get into the initial breakdown of Doughty's individual stats and what I think his strengths are, what I think his weaknesses are, I wanted to just do a little bit of a comparison with someone who's close to West Ham, and that is Emerson, obviously playing left back the majority of this season. Again, is a player that when he first came to West Ham was maybe lauded as more of a wing back, and was questioned whether he could play at left back in a back four. I think he answered a lot of those questions this season, and I think he's been fantastic. But he was one of those players where the kind of last 2 to 3 months of the season, he fizzled off and his performances dropped. And, Emerson's 29 now. You compare that with Alfie Doughty, who's 24. It's definitely a reduction in the age gap of the squad, especially with Cresswell staying. And he'll probably be operating as a third choice or kind of left centre back if we want to play a back three. So this is the comparison with Doughty and Emerson. Just gives you a comparison with kind of percentiles versus other fullbacks this year in the top 5 leagues. So you can kind of see they're pretty similar in terms of like cross percentage. Expected assists, Doughty's way higher because he takes set pieces, and there's different nuances to that as to why he would, and just because of the sheer volume of crosses he puts in. In terms of progressive passes, Doughty is slightly more progressive than Emerson. Again, that's because of the position he's playing in. He's playing in a lot more advanced positions for Luton than Emerson is for West Ham. Defensive actions, Emerson's higher. Again, playing in a West Ham back four, you're going to be asked to do a lot more defensively. So yeah, you'd expect that to be higher. Defensive duel percentage, though, is something that is a lot higher in terms of the percentage he's winning. Emerson is actually pretty good in his duels, and I think that's been noticed by West Ham fans. Doughty is very weak in that area in terms of percentages won. Aerial percentage, again, Emerson pretty high, Doughty quite low down there, which kind of contradicts some of the other stats I'm going to show you soon. And then progressive carries, he is also someone that likes to carry the ball forwards as well, similar to Emerson. I'm surprised Emerson isn't higher, to be honest, but that's kind of the visual. Again, Doughty's game is just set pieces and crossing. That is his strength. Last season, he got 2 goals and 8 assists in 37 Premier League games. And 4 years ago, he was playing on loan for Bromley in the National League. So he's come a long way. At 20 years old, he was, playing in, as I said, in the National League. He's worked his way up. He was at Charlton, where he originally kind of started. And then he's gone to Stoke. He's ended up now at Luton from 2022 onwards. So he's definitely done well in the last 4 years to progress as much as he has. So just in terms of what he produced last season, I think he was most open play crosses in the Premier League. So again, that emphasis on crossing is massive. His set pieces chances created were just below James Ward-Prowse when I last checked in like March or April for the data. So again, we know how impactful James Ward-Prowse is from set pieces. Doughty is right up there. Obviously, crossing is his strength. And, despite what it said there, aerially, his percentage is actually quite good, which I'll get into in a second. What my main concerns are, we'll get into once we go through the main stats, but that kind of just gives you an overview. So let's break it down into sections, starting with passing. So what we can see here is Doughty will try to attempt passes that are harder to execute, which is why his pass completion is very low, because the volume of passes he attempts, a lot of them are crosses, a lot of them are harder passes. Again, set pieces, corners, all of these different, wide free kicks, that all factors into it, and they're harder to complete. So on that sense, his passing accuracy and stuff, it can be taken with a little bit of a pinch of salt. You can see there, like passes completed long, passes attempted long, he's in the 92nd and 97th percentile, comparing him with fullbacks in top 5 leagues. And again, the percentage of long is in the 10th percentile because he's just putting in difficult passes. And, you can see their crosses into the penalty area is very high up. Key passes as well. Those key passes coming from the likes of set pieces. So kind of re-emphasizing the point again, crossing is his thing. Crossing is what he focuses on. When he's playing for Luton in that back three, a lot of the time where he's getting the ball is in the final third, when Luton do have the ball. And the way they play is, get the ball into the box when you're in those kind of final third positions. Most of Doughty's crosses came in the final third from the outside of the penalty box to the leftish, just whipping balls in constantly. And again, 2 goals and 8 assists this season is a very good return for a fullback. And similar to what we saw from like Cresswell a few seasons ago when him and Kufau were doing very good in terms of the crossing ability and the effectiveness of crosses that we had. Moving on to the next statistics, which is pass types, which again kind of tells you all you need to know. Dead ball passes from free kicks, right high up there. Crosses, the 99th percentile, averages over 10 crosses per 90 minutes, which is pretty crazy. And then the rest is kind of corners. So for a player that's averaging over 10 crosses, you can probably see why his percentage is quite low in terms of the accuracy. But, the amount of key passes he's producing in terms of other fullbacks is very high. So that tells me that his crossing is very good. And you can see that visually as well. You don't need statistics to tell you that. But it's good to reinforce with data. Then we look at kind of the defensive side, which is something that does concern me a little bit. I think his contribution defensively is going to be different to how he operates currently in Luton. Obviously, playing in a wing-back role, we're likely to play a back four. So we need someone that can play there. And again, you can kind of see from these stats, the main thing that kind of worries me is the challenges lost in the dribbles part. So you can see there 1.38 challenges lost per 90, which is a very low percentile with other fullbacks. What that's telling me is the dribbles he's trying to stop, so people dribbling at him, he's not very successful at it. And a couple of nuances into that. His position, he's often higher and wider, so it's easier to take you on. If you're in a low block, it's harder to take your defender on. If you're playing really high up and you get caught out a little bit on the break or whatever, it's easier to get dribbled past. But again, that's something I would maybe want to see improve a little bit if he is to come to West Ham. He's still only 24, so coming into those peak years. But I think defensively is definitely an area where I have a little bit of reservations for him coming in and playing at left back. If he's coming in to be kind of someone that could be a system player and we want to operate in a back three, then I think I'd be more onto it. I think he definitely suits a back three more and playing in that wing back position. But yeah, in terms of his defensive contributions, I think that's what concerns me a little bit. His actual tackling isn't very good. And yeah, as I mentioned there, the dribbled pass stat isn't very good either. So is he one-dimensional? That's kind of one of the questions. No, he's not one-dimensional because you wouldn't be playing in the Premier League if you were. But I think there is a slight over-reliance on his game at the moment where he's finding those positions in kind of the final third and, putting crosses into the box. Lopetegui is going to want to be a little bit more patient in that. Obviously, crosses is definitely going to be part of Lopetegui's game and getting into dangerous areas, but we don't want to become too predictable with what's happening. And the way you play in a back four is different to a back three. So Doughty would have been able to, find more space playing in that back three as a wing back in advanced areas than comparing him if he is in a back four with us next season under Lopetegui. So again, does he suit the system? That's something I have a big question mark over as well. And is he kind of a little bit one-dimensional in terms of what he's going to produce for West Ham? But it's similar with Ward-Prowse. When we signed him in the summer, we knew his set pieces were amazing. We knew his work rate was fantastic, but there were flaws in his game when played deeper. And it's something we highlighted last summer when we signed him. He got off to a fantastic start, and the set pieces and the goals and assists kind of outweighed the negatives at that point because he was playing a little bit higher as the number 10. As soon as that midfield changed up a little bit and he got dropped deeper, we got exposed. So again, I'm kind of a little bit scared that the same thing could happen for someone like Doughty. I think Doughty's a very good player, very solid player. But I just think there's better options out there if we're looking to improve on that left back position. And again, Emerson, 29 years old now. I think fullbacks is something we've often neglected. So I would like to see us push for. Maybe there's a lot of European talent out there in a left back spot that I think we could go for, but that's a separate video. But what he does have is a good turn of pace, and his acceleration is very good. So it's not easy to get past him in terms of the speed side of things. So he would be adding pace to our back line, which we know we are in desperate need of. And then the last statistics here is kind of miscellaneous stats. You can kind of see there one strength as well that I wanted to highlight is his aerials won percentage. You can see there aerials won, aerials lost per 90 is quite low anyway. So he's not really attempting many aerials. That's all that's saying, but his percentage is pretty high of those. 65% as a fullback is pretty good. As you can see there, the 96th percentile. Again, he's not challenging for as many aerial duels as other fullbacks, really, when you look at the data. But his percentage when he does is actually quite high, which is refreshing to see for a fullback. And, the fact that he's 6 foot definitely helps with that. And it gives him advantage over some of the, the smaller fullbacks that you would often see. But yeah, I just think for the way we want to play, we need to be careful. Would he suit the Lopetegui system in a back four? Personally, for me, I'd need to see it because I haven't seen that yet. Again, he thrived in a back three for Luton. He was very good in offensive duels, offensive actions, crossing, all of those things that I've mentioned. It's just that defensive contribution that I'm a little bit concerned with because we need to be better defensively next season. We were not good enough this year. And again, I think the system next year will play a part in that, but we're also going to need creativity. So it depends which way you want to look at it. Doughty will no doubt bring creativity from that left back position. His crossing is exquisite. It really is. Whether that's from a dead ball situation, a set piece, again, similar things, whether it's open play, he will cause problems. He will definitely cause problems from the left back position. Whether we want to gamble on that, I don't know. I think it depends on the price, For me, this is not a deal I would be paying any more than 10 million to 15 million for, especially with Luton now relegated. I think over 10 million, we start to get a little bit into the dangerous territory of what we're paying. But yeah, I think keeping it under 15 million is a max, is a must for me. I think any higher than that, I would definitely walk away. It'd be interesting to see if we go for it and if Lopetegui decides that he would be a good fit in his system, given the statistics and stuff here. So yeah, let me know what you think about Alfie Doughty, whether you think he would be a good fit for West Ham based on what we've discussed here. And yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a like on the video, comment down below. As always, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. And until the next one, come on you Irons.